Hi everybody, this is Judy from Fox Cities Quilt Company, and this is Sunday from the Sewing Room, where we give you tips, tricks, and a few tutorials to help you with your sewing and quilting projects. If you like our videos, please tell a friend and hit that subscribe button below. I hope you all had a great summer. We are back. The leaves outside my sewing room are turning color. Anybody knows me knows I am an endless summer kind of girl, so that makes me a little bit sad, but it's a great time for sewing. So today and for the next few weeks, I think I'm going to take us back to basics, where we learn just a few tips on regular blocks that we always make, and maybe a way to make them a little easier, a little better, and make them a little bit nicer. So today I'm going to talk to you about the four patch. It's a great block that is quite versatile, and I made one here for you. I wanted to show you because I made super contrasting colors so that you could see what I'm doing here. And they're super versatile. You can put them on point. They look really cool. You can put them with other blocks. They're great for Irish chain, all kinds of things. But there is a really great way to make them without the bulk. So I wanted to show you, this is the regular way that I make a four patch block. And I'm going to get started and show you what I'm doing. So for a basic four patch block, what I have done is I have taken two equal strips and I have sewn them together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I have pressed it to the dark. I used white thread so you can kind of see what I've got going on here. And then what we're going to do is however wide your strips are to make a four patch is how wide you cut a segment this way. So these are two 2.5 inch strips. So I'm going to cut 2.5 inch sections this way. Now let me show you how I do that. This is a 2.5 inch wide ruler. It's smaller and it's not like wielding a sword with like with a 24.5 inch ruler. So I'm going to use a smaller ruler because it works best for me. So I'm just going to lay this on my strip set, and I am going to line up a line on the ruler with the seam on my two strips that I sewed together. And I'm going to line up that edge. This is a 2.5 inch ruler, so it's really done the measuring for me. And so I am going to cut one, and then I am going to cut another. It doesn't matter which line you line up on the seam as long as it gets on a seam. All right, and then as you know, to make a four patch, you simply turn your two pieces that you've your two segments that you have cut, and you flip them over, and you're going to nest those seams just like that. You can kind of feel the seams just pop into place. And then you take this over to your sewing machine, and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, whenever possible, and sometimes it's not possible because you have to have fabric a certain way for a pattern, I put it so that I can push this seam into the other one so that it even nests even better. And I'm going to take a 1/4 inch seam allowance along here. And let me show you what that looks like. So there is my 1/4 inch seam allowance on the two that I sewed together. And as you can see, that nests really nicely. So that looks really, really good. There's no gap in there. So what I am going to do next is, in order to make these super, super flat, let me show you what I mean. This is when I first learned to quilt and piece, I made my four patch just like I showed you, but I would always press the seams one way. And if I can turn this sideways so you can see it, there's a considerable amount of bulk right there. I mean, my finger catches on it, and you can see the considerable amount of bulk here. So there is a way to reduce and eliminate that bulk. So what I'm going to do is, once I have this four patch sewn together, you can see I have a few stitches from this seam that I went across and this seam where we sewed our strip segments together. And what I'm going to do is I am going to, and it's hard to do it on camera, but I'm going to give it a shot. I am going to take those few little stitches out, and I'm going to do that on both sides. It's just a couple of stitches and it should pull right out of there. No problem. And let me do the other side. Let me pull that out. And a couple, it is, like I said, it's just 2 little stitches. So if that little thread bothers you, which it always does me, I'm just going to clip that right off. And let me see if I can get this side a little better for you, because there is one more stitch right up in there. And I'm just going to take that out. Okay. So now what I can do is I can take this to my iron, and let me show you what this looks like when you pull this open. I'm going to take this to my iron. Let me get this out of the way. And you can see that if I press this way and this way, you got another little tiny 4 patch right there in the center. So if I press these seams the opposite way, what happens is that is nice and flat there. It is so worth taking the extra 35 seconds on each of these to make that nice and flat. And then you're not going to have lumps and bumps in your quilt. Have you ever seen a quilt where the beautiful piecing, but maybe the quilting went around and that little intersection is just bulging up? This will help prevent that. So let me show you what that looks like all pressed. So here it is all pressed. I have spun those seams just like I showed you, and that is super, super flat. It is nice and pressed. And the really great part of this is, and here's another one that I pressed the same way. Let me take that little thread out. Is when you go to put these together in, let's say you want another 4 patch, whatever way you turn it, now these seams will nest. So if I want the dark and the light together again, it doesn't matter which side, the seams are still gonna nest, just like this. And this side will nest. And it's great. And any way you go, those seams are going to nest. So even if I turn this around, so I have dark and light and dark and light, the seams will nest all the way around. And it makes for a better quilt, a flatter quilt, and your 4 patches look so much better. So that's our basic little sewing tutorial for today. I'm going to try and keep them short and sweet throughout the season so that you can just sew rather than just watch. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Also, if there's any tips or tricks on anything else that you would like to learn, just leave us a comment and we'll try and get to it and we'll try to teach it to you. This is Judy from Fox Cities Quilt Company in Appleton, Wisconsin, Sunday from the Sewing Room. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.